Wanda Seal was really the lady that got me excited about this, and she invited me to participate in making the original big Centennial quilt. And I did some of the embroidery on it and then volunteered to help sew some of the things together. And then she told me about the 100 quilts for 100 years and how they wanted to get a cross-section of all the people in Arizona who were interested in this and had an affiliation with Arizona that meant something to them. So she said one of the things they really wanted was kids involved. I went to Kaya's teacher and asked Kaya's teacher if I could use her classroom to make this quilt.
Mrs. Lang came to me to make this quilt for the Centennial of Arizona. And being a native Arizonan, I was thrilled to do that.
The teacher was really excited and she said, just go ahead and make a lesson plan. And so I did. I made a lesson plan and I based it on the history of Arizona. And I used a lot of the books that I had collected since we've been here because I'm not a native Arizonan. So I took all of these books and took the information from them and made up a lesson plan for a 12-week class that was going to be their social studies unit.
I think it was just an invaluable experience for the kids in that we did the research. You can see all the books we had. They created their journals. There was research. There was the research of different places, the Indian tribes, the attributes of the state in general. And she just went through everything before we even started the quilt. So it was a whole history lesson of Arizona. And in 4th grade is when that is part of the state standards is 4th grade. But I thought this would be a great introduction to the kids, for the kids. When they go to 4th grade, they're going to know this. And I was amazed today that, they just remembered everything, a lot of information that I didn't know if they would remember. But I think with the hands-on experience, it really made it very concrete for them.
And we learned about the Indian tribes and Pangea. The most fun stuff that led up to the quilt for me was learning about Arizona's history, about the Indian tribes, and all its history that we learned about.
After taking this information, then they had to decide what was important, what should go on the quilt. So there was a lot of higher level thinking skills brought into it. The math, it was a cross-curriculum activity. Then they had to incorporate math, and they really got to see how measurement does tie into everyday life.
We made the state seal, and we made the state flag. And then we did also the Palo Verde tree.
As I said, we are going to go on a journey. And the journey is going to be through the history of Arizona, and it will be a journey in fabric. So we all needed to have a journal. And each of the kids, hi there, each of the kids was given a journal. And they had to decorate the journal with how they were going to go on this journey. So some of them used airplanes and some of them used coaches and some of them used other stuff. And so this is Kaya, and Kaya was my first victim, and her buddy was Riley. And Riley and Kaya were the co-chairmen of this whole project. So they came up with this idea of how they were going to include the class. But we didn't do anything with the quilt until the last 2 weeks. First, we did all the history of Arizona, and then we went from there to designing the quilt.
They gave up their lunches. They didn't care. They were out here, talking in committees and, working together. And we saw, and we had a lot of interpersonal skills too, of getting along, working things out, deciding, and the process of having to do things over, redoing things if it wasn't just what we were looking for. And so they get upset, but they would start over and they'd see, and then we had the beautiful quilt at the end.
And we had vocabulary.
And the vocabulary, every day in their journal, they had to write down vocabulary. So everybody has a vocabulary in the back of their journal. And we had a test on it that nobody did very well on. But everybody had a journal entry, and then at the end of this session we had a grade on their journal. So we learned about everything from the beginning of Arizona until almost the present of Arizona. And these were the little bodies that were most influential with it.
Guys, you did a tremendous job. It's a beautiful quilt. There's a reason why you were chosen to be interviewed, and it was because of the quality of the quilt that you guys produced. And be very proud of this, because this is something that's going to go into the history of the state, the same as it becoming a state.
And kids, the quilt is now at the Tucson Museum, and it's going to tour the state, and it's going to be in a whole lot of different cities